Hello, hello. Sorry for the late start. Ran into a couple of technical issues. I connected Restream last night to automatically announce on our Discord channel that a stream was starting, and apparently that didn't work. So I had to go and manually grab the links to post on the Discord. And then my roommate, who's about to head out on a walk, lost his AirPods and was pinging them for 10 minutes in the background, trying to figure out where they were. So that was fun. Anyways, today I actually thought I'd start with playing around with another level design because not that there's anything wrong with this one, but I'm still not sure the size of the environments. Like this level is fairly small, even though, you know, it does take a little bit of time to get from one area of the map to the other. I'm kind of torn between the idea of keeping it a lot like the original Future Cop in terms of size and scale, or if I want to open things up into more of like a Battlefield series, like the Conquest, because that's kind of how I see this playing out. You know, we're going to have the same MOBA elements where the enemy units are going towards the, or your units are going towards the enemy base and vice versa. And there's going to be the capture points in the center, which is going to kind of bolster your units. So by controlling these central points, so this one is going to be an underground point, and then the other two points are going to be on the side here, both on the left and the right, at least in this version of the map. So this building here would be one of the capture areas, this building underneath, and then this one here. But I'm kind of starting to feel like maybe everything's just a little too close together, and it's going to be not as fun to play that. But you know, I want to play around. So Sky Captain, yes, I would love for us to have our own version of a Sky Captain, but AI, like, we can do some simple AI fairly easily, but I want to, if we're going to do a Sky Captain, I actually want it to be a robust AI. I want it to be challenging, and just with Pseudo and I being the only ones working on the game, I think that's a little bit beyond our reach. So the focus on the first release is just going to be 1v1 multiplayer. And then afterwards, we'll look into implementing, you know, our own version of a Sky Captain. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that, you know, once we get the game to a point where we're releasing it on Steam and actually selling it, I'm hoping that might bring enough revenue in to bring on some other team members. I'd like to hire a dedicated AI programmer. But yeah, and until that point, we're just, you know, kind of going with what we can do as a two-man team. Anyway, so I thought I would just kind of play around with the whole, don't mind my incredibly messy desktop. Play around with the whole process of making a larger map just for testing purposes. Pseudo got the multiplayer working to the point where we can actually join a match online with Steam. So he and I are going to be testing that tomorrow. He's tested it on his end. It says everything's working. So fingers crossed that there's no problems with that. And I'm actually wondering if I just reinstalled Windows, and I'm thinking I might not even, I haven't even finished reinstalling all the tools that I normally use. So apologies, this is going to be a little bit boring for a minute, but So yeah, I'm thinking if we're already at the point where we can just jump into a map and walk around in it with the two of us, it'll give us actually I should run that. It'll give us a a good frame of reference for just testing the size of the maps. No, I don't need a guide. And then did I install? God, I didn't install any of my tools. It's been like a month now since I reinstalled Windows, but apparently I forgot to install. Where's World Machine? Install. And hey, Lemon! Off to cook food. All right. You're probably not even hearing me reply to you then. Um, yeah, and I'm also trying to work on getting some sound alerts for the chat, and I had a conversation with the Restream guys last night, and they assured me that using their desktop program would give me sound alerts, but clearly that's not working because I didn't get a sound alert for either of you guys posting a message in the chat. So, the joys of trying to figure out your streaming setup. Okay, so give me a minute. I'm just going to go into be right back mode because I don't want to stream my key for World Machine. So 2 minutes and I'm just going to finish installing the program here and then I'll be back. Sorry for that. So, yeah, when it comes to making a world with a landscape, there are two tools that I love to use. The first one is called L3DT, or Large 3D Terrain. Um, and it's got a free version, so I use that as just a quick way to put together a basic terrain. And then I bring it into World Machine to just give it some extra detail, basically. So there is a preset that I really enjoy with this one called Desert Mesas. And scale of features now, we probably want to turn that down a bit. And then go next. We're going to do the design map first, because then that gives me the ability to tweak it here. So I'm just going to take a look at some of the sizes of things, the altitude. So in the bottom right corner there, you can see when I'm hovering over this, the altitude, and it's ranging from, like, I saw 800 there. I just want to make sure that there's no major dips. And then the other thing I can do is I can go through here and I can add in like a canyon or something for making the environment looking a little bit more interesting, but also thinking about the fact that, this is gonna, theoretically, we want it to be like mirrored bases and that kind of thing. Granted, when I think about the Battlefield games, probably my peak playtime was with Battlefield 2. Absolutely love that version of the game. And I haven't been big into the newer Battlefields because as soon as they got rid of the bots, I'm too old to play and react well. So yeah, the Battlefield 2 is like the height of Battlefield games for me. And when I'm thinking of those levels, there wasn't any kind of worry about sides of the map being mirrored or anything like that, because it was more like you guys, each team would start on one area of the map, like in this corner and that corner, and most of the gameplay would happen in like a centralized area. So if we're keeping that in mind, I kind of think I want to work on something like that for the level. So now I'm thinking a canyon system might be cool to have into this, but I'm wondering if we should do like kind of like a canyon island in a sense. So if we could have like some canyons wrapping around like this, and then maybe something running through it as well. The other thing I like to do typically when I'm working on a level is grabbing a piece of paper. Hey, Rye, how are you doing? Oh, hey, cool. Sahaj, how are you? Haven't seen you in a while, bud. Hope you're well. And I totally, Sahaj, I looked at your name spelled. Sahaj is my old roommate, actually. So I looked at his name spelled and read it as Sahaj, even though I know his name is Sahaj. Clearly, I am really good at doing streams right now. Anyways, that's embarrassing. Yeah, I'm doing well, bud. Good to hear from you. We should get together and do a movie sometime. All right, so yeah, I was trying to say that most of the time I like to actually plan things out on paper a little bit. Right now I'm winging it, and you guys are not going to be able to see this on stream, but I've got a fruit fly just like circling my head right now. It's really pissing me off, so that's a lot of fun. Uh, anyways, okay, so I'm not worried about the design of this map so much right now because it's just for testing purposes, but I do kind of like to have, some consideration for the gameplay. But anyways, we are going to go to altitude. And so what is our lowest altitude point, roughly? I saw 100, 174, 140. So somewhere in the 100s. So I'm going to go, actually, I'm going to go to 0 because we're not going to be able to go lower than that. And I kind of am going to need to raise this up probably inside of World Machine. But yeah, let's just start painting and get some semblance of a canyon in here. And then, now you guys, for anybody who hasn't ever seen L3DT before, you might be wondering what the hell this is. It looks like a pixelated mess. This is just how the program defines the various height values. And then after this, it actually builds a height map, and then you can edit the height map in 3D. But this is just a quick way of adjusting the randomly generated content here. So this is going to force the altitude to be lowered in this area. And then we're going to have to work on it more inside the 3D. But now I'm probably overthinking this too much, but I'm thinking it would be cool to have a series of canyons running through the middle, connecting both sides. But obviously you don't really want a giant X. It doesn't, if you have a canyon running through here and a canyon running through, from the various sides connecting them, it's going to look freaking ridiculous in terms of a natural environment. So typically something like this, if you think of how canyons would be formed, it would have been like a river running through. So I could do one diagonally actually, and that might make more sense. So I'm going to start up here. Just do something like this. And to be honest, it doesn't make any sense for a canyon to be a giant circle. But too late. I've already done it. So now it kind of looks like a yin yang. Anyways, obviously this isn't going to be the final version of the map, so I am way overthinking it and worrying too much. So let's just keep going. Now I am going to go to operations and generate the height map. And this runs through a bunch of different filters and stuff. So it's making the cliffs and terraces, as you can see, and then it goes through and does some erosion passes and stuff. And you end up with a height map. And then we can go into the tools and height field editor, and this actually jumps us into a 3D world. So I'm going to have to increase the triangles here for... oh, yeah, actually, I didn't need to increase the triangles. Although it is nice to see a little bit. I wanted to increase the clip plane. That's what I wanted to do. And then it lags out your system entirely. But maybe I'll lower those trios again. Yeah, just so we can move smoothly through the environment. So now, if we zoom out, and it by default throws on this like coastal texture map. So it's putting in lakes here, but obviously this would be a desert mesa environment. And actually it's not looking as unnatural as I thought it might, because it's not a perfect circle and it's got some good height variation. So this might actually still work well. So this is just a way that I get a quick, rough leveling. Oftentimes I will come through and use the, where is it, bulldozer, to kind of flatten out the canyons, because there is a huge variation in the height here. So if we were to walk on this terrain, and what's that? I'm getting some sort of error. So if let's go back into hover mode and get up in the air. And then let's actually try and, land and walk inside the canyon. So if we go back to walking mode, oh, and that's the size of our player. And we kind of just scoot through these canyons and see how deep they look. There's a huge amount of height variation. Let me turn off turbo mode because that is going too fast. Oh, no, that didn't turn off turbo mode. Go away. Okay, yeah, so there's a massive amount of height variation, and it makes it so it doesn't really feel like these are canyons. So I might want to lower them all just to 0, and then we'll get that extra definition when we run it through World Machine. Because I kind of think that we want our canyon, we want our canyon to be flat on the bottom, like a river ran through it, instead of adding these big hills and stuff. So this is where the bulldozer comes in, and we're going to increase the size of our brush here. Yeah, that's probably good enough. And this is going to make everything look terrible because it's just going to be a square kind of broken through everything. But then we'll smooth it out. And whoa, that has got a really huge fall off. We do not want that large. And then the program crashes. That's always fun. So save often, kids. That's how you learn to save all the time. Oh well, try again. This appears to be the first time you've run the program. Well, you know, not including the time where it just crashed, but I'm just going to close it and reopen it again for getting rid of that message every time. All right, we'll try again. Designable map, maximum resolution. Next, load the desert mesas. Go back to smaller features. Next, design map. Yup. All right. Dang, I was really just starting to like that level. Should have saved it. Should have saved it. Okay. So we're gonna go the altitude back to 0. Now, see the altitude, it doesn't actually set everything to 0. It like just this relative switch doesn't seem to actually do anything, because relative would be like adding on or subtracting from the current height, as again we're seeing down there. Whereas this one's 540 meters. If I put 0 and I click here, it's not actually going to become 0. But the relative doesn't actually work, and this seems to make it relative, because even though it says that it's 0 right now, you notice it's not actually 0 inside the 3D map. Anyways, I just tried to undo that and it didn't work, so whatever. We're gonna just draw through here again. Draw a circle around. And then draw our river flowing through. And good enough. Close that, go to operations, generate the height map. Yeah, the one issue with streaming game design is there is so much tedium and stuff that is just plain old boring to watch as a viewer. But I mean, I've been wanting to be as transparent as I can with the development process, and maybe it's something that people can learn from as I go. But anyways, yeah, so probably not the most entertaining stream, but hopefully you're getting something out of it. Anyways, so this one seems like it didn't connect everything as well as the first pass did. I might actually just do the canyon editing inside of World Machine, because their splines tend to work a lot better. So I'm going to save this now as a project, and I should have a folder in here. Let's view that as a list. And I should go to L, yep. And we're just going to create a new folder, call this L.A.P.D. Whoops. And I'm going to go L.A.P.D. Test Canyon 01. Save that. Cool. That way, if it crashes, we can come back here. Let's just take a look at the height field again. So go back into the height field editor and go up in the air. Yeah, I can see the basic shape of things. It still looks all right. So I think once we exaggerate this inside of World Machine, it'll help. So now, with the height field, I'm going to choose export, active map layer. We're going to export this as a PNG. We are going to save it to a directory. So I've got L.A.P.D and source, and oh no, not source, because, well, no, source is fine. Source is where I keep all of the files that I import directly into Unreal Engine. And though I'm not necessarily importing this, I will be at some point importing one of them. So I'm going to call that landscapes, and I'm going to call this, what did I call the map? Test Canyon 01, and then I go L3DT because this is the first iteration of it. So I save that, and we go okay, and then we should be able to jump into that folder and take a look at our canyon map, height map. So that's good there. Now I'm just going to close L3D down and jump into World Machine here. Oh, oh, it's because I'm opening a second version of it. I'm like, why is it asking me to register again? I already did that because I didn't. Here, I got to close it down. Load it back up. There we go. Don't have to enter my key again. Don't have to stream my key live to the internet. Hey, Captain Thomas, welcome. Yeah, keeping in mind, this is not officially a remake. We are working on a spiritual successor, meaning the game that we're making is wholly unique, but inspired by the original game. We don't own the rights to Future Cop, so we can't actually make a sequel. But hopefully what we do make is something that you will enjoy as much, or, you know, close to as much as the original game. But don't worry, we're big fans of the series too. So series, it's only one game. We're a big fan of the game as well. All right. So inside World Machine, and in case you missed it, what I'm working on right now is the map that I've already put together just as a test bed, basically, for the scale and size of the levels. This one here feels like maybe it might be a little bit too small, so I kind of want to test the two extremes. I want to test the difference between a smaller map. I mean, smaller is relative because, you know, it is still fairly large compared to the size of your mech. But I want to test out the feeling between a smaller sized map and then a larger scale map. Yeah, I'm glad that you're still happy, man. That's great. I'm really excited to get this into everybody's hands at some point soonish, hopefully. I'm really hoping that Pseudo and I can get you know, an early build of the game in your guys' hands sometime this year. So fingers crossed. But yeah, so playing around with the idea of whether or not a smaller map or a larger map would be better. So I'm kind of just going through the process of putting together you know, a basic test for a larger size level. So in this regard, I'm imagining it being more like the Battlefield games. I mean, obviously not that epically large, because I haven't played Battlefield in a while, but those maps were always huge. But Battlefield 2 was always my favorite version of the game. And so I'm kind of thinking of their conquest mode as inspiration. So now I'm just playing around with putting together like a desert mesa environment terrain. In case anybody's wondering why I keep looking down, it's I've got a tablet on the lower part of the screen, and that's where the chat is. Anyways. G-Police. God, I know that game. but I don't know it. Like, I think I know the cover. I was trying to, yeah, this game. I never played it though, but I know of it. Oh yeah. Oh crap. That's crazy. That I can totally see how it would remind you of that. Yeah. Um, it's basically something I stole from my other project, Beast Mode. Well, sort of. This force field effect I actually used in Beast Mode in the Moonbase Alpha. And then yeah, I was just playing around and I thought it would be cool to have like this dome uh, kind of influencing um, the shadows in the world and being a really defined boundary. Because the idea is, at least in terms of the lore that I'm coming up with for this game, the idea is this is some sort of like simulation for the police as they're training. So it's like a combat simulation, and they kind of spar against each other to learn strategy and stuff like that. So part of me was thinking you could do something kind of like the Matrix loading screens where everything's like pure white in the background. But then the other part thought it might be cool to have like a physical boundary and then the force field that you see as you come up to the edges of the map. But yeah, I'm playing around with it. I'm not necessarily 100% sold on the idea, but it's anyways, it's something I like. But yeah, you're totally right. It's definitely got those G Police vibes, which is complete fluke because I've never even played the game. Um, but yeah, anyways, so trying to keep my ADHD in check and focusing on the subject matter at hand. Yeah, so anyways, so let's trash all this. I don't need it. Go away. Go away. Yes. Apparently I can hold shift while I'm doing that. Can I control click these? No. Drag select. No, that doesn't even work. Okay. Shift delete. Shift delete, and then I don't get that message pop up. Okay, so favorites. We are going to need, which, well, we do need an overlay view. I hate this about World Machine. Sometimes it gets stuck and you can't get rid of the node. And then we need an input. Where is the input? Generator file input. There we go. And we're going to need a layout generator. And we're going to need a height output over there. So we start with the file input. And it's funny because every time you install World Machine, even though I've already got the folders set up, for some reason it doesn't seem to recognize them. So I have to make my like starting map again because there's World Machine documents here. I guess it probably overwrote the one that was originally my customized one because I made a backup of the original, but I had a customized one. But I guess when you reinstall it, it deletes that. So I should keep that in mind for the future and make a backup of my customized version. But anyways, I usually work in this process where I don't generate things directly in World Machine just because it's a little bit, I don't know, it's not slower. It's because it's a node-based editor, I feel like I've got less control over it. So I like to use a mix of the L3DT and World Machine. Because with L3DT, I can do like a procedural generation, but then I can also manually tweak it with the 3D sculpting tools and then bring it into World Machine. So I kind of prefer that method. So anyways, we're going to go and load in our terrain. Landscapes, Test Canyon. Okay, and I think we can turn that on. And natural file elevations usually brings, yeah, it brings everything in way too high. So I like to specify a range, and I knock this down usually to something like 1800. And that gives us a little bit more height than what we had inside of, let's take a look here. More height than what we had inside of L3DT. But, because then once we do the erosion pass, this might be a little too extreme. Also, I wouldn't mind bringing that up. I'm thinking probably I should actually just do all of the canyons inside a World Machine, because this is, it's cutting down in too many spots here that I don't want it to be that low. I kind of want this to be a more elevated piece. So I'm going to load L3DT back up and whoops. Or I'm going to load another version of World Machine back up. Oh, that's why L3DT is, I think, on my desktop. Let's pin this to start. And then I've got that there. Okay. So I'm going to try another generation, but this time I'm going to leave it on just the procedural stuff that it creates. So we're going to go back to Desert Mesas, load that in, scroll this down to somewhere around there. Next, and then I'm just going to skip editing the design map and go straight into generating the height field. So yeah, this is where I'm talking about how game design can be really tedious. It's just this process of back and forth, you know, iterating and reiterating until you find something that works. But it's really fun once you actually start seeing everything come together inside of a game. So, and always I like to just jump into the height field editor and take a look at the terrain overall. Okay, yeah, so that's working. And then, yeah, these are all going to be emphasized inside of World Machine. So I will save this project. And I will go back into my documents, L3DT, and Test Canyon, and I'm going to call that O2. Save. Then I am going to export the height map as a new PNG. We're going to go back into L.A.P.D. source landscapes, that one, and give it a 2. Okay. So I'll leave that open in the background because I might need to jump back into it. But so let's go back to our file input here, and we're just going to pick number 2 instead. That is still really, really high. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to lower that down by half again, 900. Okay, so that looks like it's closer to what we had inside of L3DT. So I want it to be a little bit taller. So I'm going to go back to the file input here. So I'll go with 1200 again. Yeah. I think that'll work. Okay. So then in our layout generator here, what we can do is we can actually, I want to connect this. Let's go into, that's an erosion. We want an erosion there. So we want to plug in our, oh God. Sometimes I really get frustrated with World Machine. And then we're going to plug this into our overlay. And then we are going to take the layout generator and we're going to plug this into, come on, into the mask. And what that's going to give us is, Actually, I gotta unplug this from the mask right now. There we go. Oh, wait. The layout generator is how I'm going to specify the canyons. But I want to lock the preview on that device because I think now when I go into the layout generator, oh yeah, okay, there we go. I want to be able to see, whoops, the zooming on this is a little speedy. I want to be able to see our landscape. So first thing I want to do is, no, I guess I don't want to use the circle because that's going to be a solid mass. I want to use lines. So the first thing I want to do is do our canyon. And the cool thing actually here is I can direct the flow of the canyon in between these peaks and stuff. So we'll do that. So we'll have it run through here. We can run around that. So this is going to become our central circles, so to speak, of the canyon itself. And then do I want to go on this side or that side? I think I want to go on this side. Through there. And then I guess up over here. Yeah, that should be good. And then double click on this. We do not want a 4 kilometer fall off distance, so maybe 1, but probably 500 meters. And then we want the shape of the canyons. Do we want it curved like that at the top? Yeah, I think I'll go with this one because then it gives it like a flat wall at the very top rather than smooth. So this is setting the blend. You can kind of imagine this as being the hill, right? So like you're down inside the canyon here and this is the top ground level. So do you want it to be a smooth fall off on both the top and the bottom, or do you want it to just kind of be more of like a flat wall with a curve at the bottom? And I think that would look better for a canyon, but we can always change it later. So that should be okay for now. And then we also want another line, so I'll close that. We're going to do another line here. And this is going to be the one that flows through the middle. So we'll have this come down like that. I guess it's going to carve through those features there. And then maybe come out here. And before I had it going over that way, but since I'm going with the shape of the terrain, I'll have it come out here. I'll do that. And I'll actually bring this line just, oh, no, I don't want to skew the tangent. Let me just bring that up. And then I just realized, because the last time L3DT crashed was when I was doing undo a few times in a row. So now I'm going to save the World Machine here. So L.A.P.D. Whoops. Ugh, I need to replace my keyboard. L.A.P.D. and Canyon. Oh, I guess I called it Test Canyon, but I gotta actually call it Canyon Test on this one. Actually put an underscore in there. And then 02, even though this is still the first, I gotta call it 01, because it's still the first map, even though I've done another height field from L3DT. Hey, Ivan, how are you doing? Say hello to your little friend, Sky Captain. Yep. Sky Captain is the bomb. Oh, I would love so much if we get to the point where we're implementing our own Sky Captain AI. I would love to be able to get the original voice actor to come back and do lines for us. It's probably a tall order, but I can fantasize, right? So, anyways, so I think this should work well. And the same thing, we're going to want to open up the properties here, change that back down to 1 kilometer, and also choose the profile fall off curve. Now we can go back into the node editor, and one of these combiners, no, filter invert. That's our invert, because this is essentially saying this is the area where this height map will show up, and we want to invert it, so we're saying the height map won't be present in these areas, and that'll dig us some canyons. So I'm going to plug this in here. And we're going to plug that in there. Yay! And we have a little canyon show up. So that's working. I kind of do know what I'm doing. I'm amazed. All right. So, and then we've got our height output. So I want to plug this. Come on. You can do it, World Machine. I believe in you. Okay, save that. Now we can go into our erosion. And I like to use classic power. And we'll go okay. But that kind of eradicated our world a little too much. And that's probably because the size of the canyon actually in the layout generator. So I want to go back into the layout generator. We want to really reduce the fall off here. So instead of kilometers, I'm going to go into meters. And then I'm going to set this to be maybe 200 meters. Whoops. 200 meters. And we'll see if that helps. So close that one, go back into this one, and set this up to be 200 M. And hopefully that'll help. Go back into our 3D view. Okay. However, the erosion is kind of bringing everything way down. And I don't want that. I want, I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to pull the erosion node out for a minute. And actually, I think I'm just going to take the erosive power and knock that way down. So we're going to, yeah, that's our original. We're just going to put a tiny bit of erosion. So taking a look at the thumbnail in the corner here. So I'm just waiting until, okay, so we were at 7 was there. We want 4. I want a little bit of it. It kind of just jumps between those two though. I'm going to keep it at 0.83 here, I think. 0.2. 0.23. Yeah, let's leave it at 160, somewhere in between those 2 points. We'll take a look. And then I want to go into this, conserve memory. I don't even know why this is something you would turn on. Like, why wouldn't you just always want it to conserve memory? Like, what's the benefit of telling the program to use more of your RAM? I don't know. So I usually turn conserve memory on because it seems to make the builds faster. We're going to turn that off. And then I have a handy little cheat sheet somewhere here with the landscape sizes that Epic recommends. So 8129 is the largest. I'm going to go with 4033 because that's going to create us a rather large environment. Maybe I'll do 2017 actually to start. So let's do that. We'll go 2017. Oops, I have to hit custom. 2017. That'll be our build resolution. And we're gonna hit build. And this should go through and up the quality of our terrain here. While it does that, I'm gonna stretch my neck out and drink some water. And because we're live streaming, I can't really skip this, but it doesn't take too long to build with my processor. All right, we're done. So now you're going to see this jump from looking plain and undetailed to much more detailed. So this is cool, except that now instead of looking like canyons, it's just looking like mountains. So that's the wrong look. I'm gonna bypass the erosion altogether and just run that and see what it looks like. So this will be a fast rebuild because it's not using the erosion. Or maybe I'm wrong. Usually the erosion's what takes all the time, but clearly not. Yeah, there we go. It's still faster. Oh, it's building the erosion node even though I didn't use it. Oh, that's hilarious. I'll keep that in mind. Delete the node if you don't want it to be there. Okay, yeah, so this is giving us more of the Desert Mesas look. Which is much more what I wanted. Really do want to add, oh, it's connected there. That's why I ran the erosion node. I do really want to do just a subtle bit of erosion. So maybe I can blend them together. Also height chooser, combiner. If I take a look at a combiner here. Wow. God. World Machine is just a little janky. Yeah, okay, so I can average them. So I can apply a erosion node. I'm actually going to delete that one and go back to adding it on its default settings. Come on, World Machine, get rid of the node. Thank you. So we're going to leave it at the default. And I think I'm going to go with channeled erosion. And then I'm going to go with... yeah, actually, maybe I want to add some terraces in here too. So I'll keep this at good with terraces. And then I'm going to change my rock... Yeah, rock hardness is high. So I think that'll help. And then I'm going to do one of these. That's clamp. That's not terraces. Where is natural? It's thermal weathering. That's terrace. Okay. So I'm going to plug this in. Come on. Go in there. You can do it. I believe in you. Actually, why am I plugging that in? Because we still need to make some adjustments here. 3D view. Okay. So our terrace is adding in. So number of terraces 1 somehow makes the entire terrain disappear. That's interesting. Okay. So we want to increase this number. Oh, I get it. Less terraces is like keeping it its original shape, and then this is yeah, eroding it out from there. Okay, so yeah, I like it somewhere around 60, I think is okay. Terrace layering. I'll leave that on the default 1. And then we're going to plug that into an erosion. Then we're going to plug the erosion into a combiner. And then I'm going to bring back in the one without the erosion. And then I'm going to plug that into overlay. And I'm going to plug that in there so that we get the same. And then the combiner, rather than averaging, probably I want to, yeah, well, actually, I was going to say we might want to add it, but I think just averaging will be okay. And so standard erosion, no filter. This preset was good with terraces. And we've got a high rock hardness, so that should be okay. Let's just see what that gives us. So save, 3D view, build. And while this builds, I'm going to run to the bathroom. Sorry guys about the alarm there. That is an alarm going off reminding me to take my meds. In case you're wondering what I'm taking meds for, it's one of them is an allergy pill, and the other one is 2 pills for increasing the serotonin. I've been having some major sleep apnea issues in the last few years. I went to a sleep clinic here in Vancouver at the University of British Columbia, which is basically the biggest sleep clinic in Canada. And they said I have such severe sleep apnea. They've actually never had somebody with sleep apnea as bad as mine was. So that was fantastic to hear. And I've been using a CPAP machine. I get to be like Darth Vader and have a breathing mask at night. And it has not really done anything to make me feel any different. I'm still basically uh, narcoleptic. I wake up and I want to go back to bed 2 hours after I wake up. So the idea is the pills that I'm taking are going to increase the serotonin, which could theoretically also help with helping me sleep better. But it's weird. It's like it's not. I can't sleep because I can fall asleep ridiculously easy. It's just that I wake up constantly and I'm also not breathing. So yeah, bad combination for memory and brain functionality and everything else. But yeah, it is what it is. So just gotta keep on moving. Okay, so that looks terrible. It's way too. Um, I don't know if it's too terracey, but it's too. Yeah, it might be too terracey. It's funny though that like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's funny that this says 60 though, but okay. So as we do fewer of them though, it kind of like erodes too much of the world. So I don't want to go too low. I still want them to look like mesas, right? So let's try 30. And then again, our erosion, we're probably putting that too low. So let's bump it back up to 0.5. We'll just take a look at what that looks like. So yeah, this is again what I was saying with game design, just the iteration, right? Iterate, iterate, iterate until you find something you like. But it is definitely tedious. Possibly not really fun to watch in a stream, but it'll get way more exciting as the streams go on and we start seeing everything in game. As I start actually putting the artwork into the levels instead of just using block-in meshes. So I'm hoping in a couple weeks. Okay, that's looking better. That's giving us more of a mesas look. I think that works. That gives us desert. And then our canyon is way too thin now. So I need to find that medium. So 1 kilometer was, I think, too wide. But 1 kilometer may have been too wide simply due to the erosion level. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back into our layout generator. I'm going to start with the outside canyon. I'm going to up this to 800 just because I want to see what kind of an extreme that gives us. Actually, I think because I have the two canyons, I'll set this one back up to 1, come on, 1 km. And then I'll go to this one, and instead of 200 meters, I'm going to set it to 500. And that'll give us, yeah, I can already, oh, okay, yeah, I can already see it right here. That, yeah, 1 kilometer is too big. 500 is going to be better. So, okay. 500 M. I like that real-time feedback. It's handy. Yeah, I think that'll be okay, but I might want to go for somewhere like 350. But okay, so let's build again. It's funny, I've already streamed for more than an hour. It certainly doesn't feel like it. All right. So that's adding a little too many terraces. See, the thing is, this is giving us our width at the top, but then it's narrowing into a tiny little point at the bottom. So I think in our layout generator, we need to adjust the curve here. So I think it's narrowing to a point because we're using this specific curve. So we either need to go with a curve like this or a curve like that. So I'm going to start with this one. Yeah, it's giving us really wide canyon there. And then this one here is a little bit smaller. So if we do that, that versus that. Yeah, okay. So that one would be way too wide. Let's go with that S shape. And we'll see what that looks like. So that's for the center and S shape around the outside. Okay. Build that. Itchy ear. I gotta get some good music going for the in between boring moments. Actually, I don't know if any of you guys heard it, but the music on the Be Right Back screen, as well as the starting and the ending cards, that's actually music for our game. It's created by my good buddy John Crawford Dobbin. So um, he's the musician on the project, and I'm really happy with what he's been putting together so far. All right. It's a little pointy at some spots here. We could curve out the smooth out the curve, I mean, not curve out the smooth. So if we perform curve smoothing and then curve smoothing, and then these ones, we gotta overlap them a little bit more over here because these two are kind of stopping, and that's supposed to be like a continuation of the canyon there. I'll pull these back like that. There we go. And then maybe curve it a little bit like that. Cool. And this one, a little bit like that. I'll soften that edge up a bit. Yeah, that's looking better. Pull them past each other there. Maybe turn that like that. Good enough. I can always smooth that kind of stuff out later. But there we go. That'll get the sharp edges out of there. So we can go back to our 3D view. Build that again. The waiting game. I remember when I first started using World Machine, actually, I had a much slower processor. I think it was just a quad core. And my God, it used to take forever. So this is so much faster than it used to be. Okay, so we still got some sharp edges there. It's a little strange. I feel like maybe I can allow the erosion to come in a bit more. Whoops. So that's not adjusting the erosion, that's adjusting the combiner. And I can also play with how this is working, whether it's adding, averaging, multiplying. So adding doesn't work. Let's see, multiply. Multiplying is too much. Max, min, powers, yeah, not going to be good. Root, detail, oh, too much. Differences. Screen. Interesting, I've never seen a screen. I think average is probably the best, but multiply could work if we just tone it down a bit. So that's the original, and then this is the eroded version. Let's try that. Also, sometimes it's difficult to find where that corner is because I rotate the 3D map around and then I don't know where it is in relation to the actual rotation of the layout. But yeah, this is definitely the part of the level design process that I wish I could skip. Fast forward. That made things a lot worse. Okay, so go back to the combiner, and we're going to up this strength to like 0.7. See what that looks like. And then I'll flip over to the averaging blend mode. See what that looks like. We're almost there. After this, throw it inside the engine and you get to walk around in it in 3D and it's much more fun. At this point, though, it's kind of like watching grass grow. Oh, man. Yeah, not liking that. All right, we're going back to our averaging. We're just going to keep it at a higher base erosion amount. Mm-hmm. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I think that might work, to be honest. I'm going to throw this 100% at the erosion and try that. And it's as if I'm not blending it out. And just see what it looks like. Because it might have just been that the original erosion amount that I was using when I did that power, it might have just been too much erosion. The power preset. Mm-hmm. Ah, yeah, actually, I think it's okay with full erosion. Um, Maybe a little less. Let's... Save that. Let's go into my terraces and drop that down because it just looks like there's too many. So I'm going to drop this down to 15, half as many, and then build that. I want to really keep the mesa look, but yeah, that the too many terraces does tend to look a little strange as it goes down the sides of the cliff there. Hmm. Looking better. Looking better. We're still getting the mesas look. Um, and fewer terraces. I think does look a bit better. That might be too few though. Um, so maybe 22? In between the in-betweens? I do really wish this was like a real-time editor, to be honest. I think the issue is that World Machine's just an older program, but doing this kind of thing in real time, it's definitely got to be possible. Yeah, that's too many. Okay. 18, I guess. Try that. And then instead of building again, I'm going to look in my layout generator. That's the point there. Okay. That's what I want to smooth out. Whoops, 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 whoops. Not what I wanted to do. This. That's the part that I want to smooth out. So, I think if I do another line here, oops, create a new line here. Just have that kind of flow into that one. It might help smooth that out. And then I obviously need to change this, oops, this one to be 500 meters instead of 4 kilometers. And using the same fall off curve. Better. And now I can pull, whoops. Right. Let's undo that. Yeah, what? Why can't you undo changes? World Machine. You program. Okay. I gotta pull that over there. And this down there. What? They're too close to each other? Oh, I just welded them together. Ugh. And there's no undo. You son of a gun. Okay. No, I did weld them. Oh, you mother effer. This is why we save frequently, guys, especially when there's no undo. What happened to World Machine's undo ability? Canyon test. Go back here. I gotta close this one. Blah. No, don't save. Recent world files. Canyon test. Go back to my terraces. So this one we had down to 18. The combiner we had set, yeah, I did set it to full strength, and then that I can save, and then in my layout generator I will add a line again, try and fix that. I might want to add 4 points, and then bring that up. This one, 500 M, and this curve. Close that. Then smooth the curve and pull, whoops, pull this one in. Bring that over there, maybe not too much. There we go. That's looking better. Less sharp, less harsh edges. I want to do something similar here, I think. We've also got that pop up, but I can flatten that inside of Unreal, actually. It's going to be easier to do. Then I also want to draw a line there. Bring those properties up. 500M. And the right fall off. Whoops. Smooth the curve. Grab the points and move them over. And I don't want that handle. I want this one. Like that. There we go. Smooth that out. Yeah, we're getting some really pointy spots there, actually. So, creating a new line. It's funny how something like this could look so boring to watch, but maybe it's just me, but there's something really rewarding about tweaking these values and seeing them, uh, seeing how it affects everything. Smoothing. I really enjoy game design, all aspects of it, even though it can be ridiculously tedious at times. Actually, I kind of preferred it digging in a little bit there. Move that one up. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, let's look for any more of those intersections here where it gets a little too pointed. So I feel like these ones we could probably adjust with the tangents here to smooth out those corners. Yeah, that's still going to cause that point there, though. Yeah, I wonder why I've got no undo ability. That is very odd. I don't think I've ever had that in World Machine before, so I got to look into that. All right, go back and draw another line. Stick with what works. I wish I could set a default size here. Two pointed there. There we go. Better. One here too, but can probably round that out. So yeah, it looks like it's 2:30. I think rather than continuing with the tedium of this stream, probably what I'm going to do is end the stream now and just tweak this offline and then continue tomorrow with bringing this all into the engine. Because I think that'll be a much more enjoyable stream to watch. Or maybe slightly more. I shouldn't say much more. But yeah, all right. So thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. And I will see you. Well, I said tomorrow, but maybe not tomorrow. I will see you next time. That's I'm not very good at adhering to a specific schedule. So the next time I decide to start streaming, we'll continue more of this. All right, bye for now.